Since you're becoming quite the marketer, my friend, in this lesson, we're going to talk a lot more about the psychology of color. And I'll show you some case studies on how colors can evoke emotions and how to pick your brand colors. So if you are starting from scratch, if you're a startup and you don't really have any solid brand colors, you've been sort of using, whatever, then this is where we want to really nail those colors down. I would always say to choose a primary color. For me, my company, it's red. For some of these other companies here that you see on this chart, you can see their brand colors and how colors are represented by different feelings, right? And if you do have colors already, then this might be the time to evaluate, am I using the right type of colors for my brand? Like before you really start marketing, you can really do an audit on what you're using already and decide if it's the right thing. And if it is, at least you'll still have a background, some background on how to use colors, just in other marketing materials that you're doing that may not be your primary color, but maybe you need to add some complementary colors, right, to kind of flesh out your entire color palette, because it's really important. Like, what's in a color? Exploring the psychology of color, you'll find that it's in commerce, right? Differentiating from other competitors, right? Perception and awareness, right? Perception, how people feel about your company. Awareness, do they recognize your brand colors when they see it? Then there's culture, that's in colors, right? Different people's beliefs and traditions and religion are often tied to colors. And also emotions, the state of mind that different colors can put you in. Like, for instance, if you're in a casino, they have that really homey, inviting feel. It's like sitting in a living room, and that allows gamblers to settle in and just kick back and enjoy themselves in comfort. But if you notice the colors that they use, these really bright, vibrant colors, they're a part of this. No windows anywhere in the casino, and they're using these colors to kind of stimulate your brain and keep you active and keep you on those machines. It's all by design. Same thing with fast food restaurants, right? Red attracts attention and triggers stimulation. This is scientifically proven. Triggers stimulation, appetite, and hunger. And combine that with yellow. Yellow triggers the feelings of happiness and friendliness. So the combination of the two emits speed and quickness, right? So you see that and you think, oh, I'm going to eat and I'm going to be happy and this is going to be quick, right? So this is not by accident. Look at all these logos. This is not by accident. They didn't just choose these colors just because. They chose it because there's a psychology behind it. You look at like what McDonald's has been testing, they have a whole green effort that they're doing. So McDonald's is testing green in some of their locations to elicit the feeling of nature and being environmentally friendly. So green evokes that emotion. You look at Tiffany, right? I didn't even really have to say Tiffany. I could have just showed you this box and said, what company did this come from? And you would have said Tiffany. Why? Because they have trained us to simply recognize their color. There's no logo here. There's no words, no pictures or anything, no pictures of, anyone else. It's just a box. And we immediately know, bam, that's the Tiffany box. So that's how powerful colors are. So when I'm doing rebranding projects, I always include a style guide, something that looks similar to this, where it has, the logo usage and things of that nature. But if you look down here at the bottom left, let's see if we can zoom in here, you'll see that I always include the color palette. And this is something that you can do in your brand kit. If you're using software, you can save your colors so that you're using the same colors over and over and over. So you want to define like what those hex numbers are so that you can consistently use those same colors. So in a style guide, I always define the logo, always define the color, always define the typography so that you stay consistent. But the colors are definitely important. And in fact, I'm going to go back here. Notice how I'm using I've got primary colors and I've got secondary colors. So this is where I was saying, if you do have colors that you're already using for your brand, you might consider some secondary colors too, knowing what you know after watching this lesson. Even prisons in the US are going pink in a psychological attempt to subdue prisoners. So this is how powerful color can be. So don't overlook this step and just start using colors all willy-nilly, because colors do trigger emotions. You see a color like red, and that represents energy and action, desire, passion, ambition. The effects, it's stimulating, it's exciting, it attracts attention, right? It's assertive, it's an aggressive color, right? Does that fit your brand? If you have like if your main product is green juice, should you really be using like red as your primary color? Probably not. Okay, so you need to think about this when you're choosing your colors for your brand. Like yellow represents mind and intellect. It's happiness, fun, new ideas. The effects are, it's creative, it activates memory, right? So yellow is one of those really like exciting colors. You might look at orange for your brand. Does that make sense? It's adventurous. It represents friendship and forward thinking. The effects are, there's some enthusiasm behind the color orange. It's stimulating. The effects are courage and vitality. Maybe your color should be blue, a more conservative color. It represents communication, peace and calm, honesty, wisdom. There's, banks, right? You still have banks who use the color blue. Like, it's very trustworthy. It's very conservative, right? Blue is a very conservative color. Is your brand conservative? Let's go back to your brand personality. Is it a conservative brand? Is it an orderly brand? Then you might think about blue. Now, of course, there's all different shades of blue. So once you settle in on blue, now you decide what shade of blue, and then you use it over and over and over. Or maybe purple. Maybe purple makes sense for your brand. Inspirational, imagination, spirituality, creativity. All of these things are sort of represented by the color purple. Maybe green makes sense for your brand. It's harmony, growth, nature, hope, renewal. The effects are, it's rejuvenating. That's why a lot of the, going green brands, holistic brands, things like that, they all tend to use green. It's nurturing, it's relaxing. A lot of spas use blues and greens, right? A lot of spas don't necessarily use like red and yellow. That's like, that's like screaming at you, right? Maybe white is a predominant color for your brand. It's more purity, represents innocence and wholeness. The effects are, it does have a futuristic feel. You look at a company like Apple that uses a lot of white, and they use a lot of white space in their communications. Their logo is, that silver and white. Maybe that makes sense for your brand. Or maybe it's black, which is more mysterious and, represents power and control. The effects are, it can feel very formal and sophisticated, So you just have to really think about what colors you want to use for your brand. Now, of course, these are just generalizations because culture and people's backgrounds can influence how they respond to color. What do you mean by that, Jason? Well, in different cultures, the responses and preferences to colors vary. It varies across culture, gender, age. Different cultures react to colors in different ways. You might look at, the Hindu religion in India, where orange is the most sacred color, but then you go to Zambia and they don't even acknowledge the color orange, right? How different is that? So, cultural backgrounds can also influence how people, feel about different colors. So if you're an international company or you plan to do business internationally, you do have to keep that in mind. The Inuit communities, in their communities, white is so important that it has 17 words to describe it. 17 words to describe white. It's probably off-white, egg white, pure white. There's probably all kinds of white because that's what they see all the time. So they're able to come up with different versions of the same color that they see all the time. Or maybe you look at, Muslim culture where green is sacred. Okay, so you might think about that. In, the color yellow in France means jealousy, betrayal, and weakness, but then in African nations, it resembles gold. So you see a lot of royalty wearing the color yellow. And then, you look at a color like blue, which is a very popular color, but across different cultures, like in China, it's considered a feminine color. Whereas in the Middle East, it's safety and protection, spiritual. And then in Latin American communities, it means good health and hope. It's symbolic of the Virgin Mary. The color green in most Eastern and Asian cultures, it's new and eternal life, fertility, youth, right? True in China, but wearing a green colored hat for men is taboo because it suggests the man's wife is cheating on him. That's kind of crazy. I saw that in my research and I thought that was really interesting. So, colors, what does this mean for you in business? Color can dictate the mood of a design or brand. Each color has something different to say. So you look at the impact of color on your marketing. Researchers found that up to 90% of snap judgments made about products can be based on color alone, depending on the product. The relationship between brands and color hinges on the perceived appropriateness. Does the color fit with what's being sold? So think about that. If you have colors already for your brand, ask yourself, is it appropriate? Does it fit for what I'm selling? So you may need to revisit that. If the answer is yes, okay, now you may look at some secondary colors to help support it so that, you are using a nice solid set of colors. So again, looking at the impact of color on marketing, we want to differentiate ourselves from our competitors. And then we also want to align with business strategy. So you look at Home Depot and Lowe's, right? Now, Home Depot, or I think Lowe's came after Home Depot, if I'm not mistaken, but they wouldn't look at Home Depot and say, okay, we're going to use orange too. That doesn't make any sense. Number one, they need to differentiate from their competitor. And then number two, using the colors that they're using, the blue colors, they're taking a different business strategy, right? From the layout to, how the people dress. Like the layout of a Home Depot store appeals more towards like contractors and tradesmen, right? The layout, the way the aisles are set up, the colors that they're using, whereas Lowe's, they want to appear non-intimidating. So they use a lot of white walls, a lot of bright lighting, right? They're using the color blue, which feels, safer and more friendly. So the uniforms, take on the company, the branding of the company, right? So it's not just picking colors just to pick colors. FedEx uses the branded house approach to where they use the same logo, but for their different divisions, they just change up the color a little bit, right? So that might be something that you think about too. But again, you want to work within a steady set of colors. You don't want to be jumping around all over the place or people won't be able to recognize your brand. All right, let's take a look at a case study. Let's take a look at UPS, right? They use the color brown. As we know, brown evokes stability and reliability. And this goes back to, 1916 when they actually used the Pullman cars. When I say they, America used Pullman cars, which was synonymous with, professionalism and class. Right, the train system. Okay, and the thing is, even with the uniforms, they chose that because it didn't show a lot of dirt. So they would always look clean. But this is a color decision. They didn't just pick it all willy-nilly. They picked it for a reason. Right. So brown has long been the color of shipping boxes and brown paper and packaging. Like the actual boxes themselves are brown. Right, so making that decision to go with brown as their primary brand color, right, coincides with the thing that they actually ship, which are boxes. So in 2002, the marketing team introduced a slogan based entirely on the colors, right? What can brown do for you? So again, this is the power of colors being, representing your brand. You may even look at a company like Apple. The first logo was the Isaac Newton, discovering gravity from an apple falling from a tree on the top left there. Very, very complex logo, right? Now, then in 1977, he wanted to make it, or he, being Steve Jobs, wanted to make it more of a statement to the company's mission. And then lifestyle choices changed in the 70s, reflecting a more colorful and electric vibe. So you can see the colors changed there. And then Apple later brought color into a marketplace with the iMacs. So they brought the color back and then the brand was reinvigorated, right? But they're thinking of these things. They're being intentional. They're not just making it up, right? So the logo remained the same until the brand personality shifted to focus on simplicity. So you see that the brand personality shifted, right? So they were no longer this sort of eccentric, colorful brand, and you don't see that in any of their stuff. Even like the products themselves, they only have like, maybe 3 or 4 colors that they use for, let's say, the iPhone, or their MacBooks. They don't come in a bunch of different colors because it coincides with, the sleek black logo at the time emphasized the strategy of making products that had a simple humanistic connection with technology. So they went very simple. And that's true today. The futuristic chrome and white logos represent rebirth, purity, and simplicity. So when they're making these decisions, they're making them not just from an aesthetic point of view, they're making them from a business point of view. They're saying, no, we are the brand that's sleek and simple to use. So our colors also represent that. So what colors represent your brand? Keep in mind that personal preferences, experiences, upbringing, cultural differences, and context, that often impacts the effect that individual colors have on us. So colors do not have the same effect on everyone, right? Again, they're generalizations, but what I want you to really start thinking about is that you're going to be intentional. You're not just picking colors all willy-nilly. You're thinking about your business strategy. You're thinking about the types of products you have, and you're thinking like a marketer and being intentional. So look for practical ways to make decisions about color. Think of what emotion you want your brand to invoke. Your brand colors should match that emotion as closely as possible. All right. Now, I put this slide here because Canva has a really unique, their platform has a really cool page that shows you how to pick colors, and you can go a lot further, into generating colors, generating color palette ideas. And I'll actually break my slide here and pull that page up. And I put the exact URL in the workbook because sometimes they do move things around, but it's pretty cool. This first one here, you can go into color generator, and you can see that you can actually upload an image in apps and extract. Okay, and look at that. That's pretty cool, right? It's extracting the colors from the photo, and then you can even copy the hex. Like if you click on copy, it will copy the hex code. This is the number associated with that color. And then you can start to formulate your brand colors there. So this is a really good resource for you to check out. And then there's some other things here like color meanings. We just kind of talked about a little bit about that. See, you can actually hover over these and you can kind of, drill into them, and it kind of talks more about aqua, water in Latin is variation of cyan. So you can get really, really deep on this stuff, y'all. It goes really, really deep. But I don't want to overwhelm you. Let's just stick to a primary color that you're going to use consistently as your primary color, a secondary, some complementary colors. If you're looking for ideas, you could go to color palette ideas here. And again, this link is in the workbook, so you can go directly there. And you can just get some ideas on different color combinations. So really good tool for you to check out. So the action item is you're going to pick your brand colors. And if you have brand colors already, you're going to pick some complementary colors. And you're going to save those hex code numbers. Post them in the group. Would love to see what colors you've come up with. Pick a predominant color and a secondary complement color. All right, so what we talked about color psychology. We said that there are meaning behind colors, and there are. We looked at some case studies from major brands on how colors evoke emotions and form business strategy. So not only create emotions, but actually form business strategy, and how to pick your own colors using the website, different various websites out there. So let's get to it. Let's get those colors down. And once we get those colors down, we are going to stick to those colors so that our customers and clients will recognize our brand when they see it.